You know what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do that. Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Welcome to the Coaches Show. And just like this, or rather just like that, this is episode number 52. Tonight, we're joined by brand new head coach of Baltimore Revo, Chris Jansen. He joins us to talk about his coaching philosophy, how he will use this Revo roster, as well as some of their new pickups, and how he plans to build this Revo team into a top-tier team. First, we're going to dive into some of the offseason moves and how we think they will impact the league. See what I did there, Ryan? That was very clever. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Max Sportswear. For all your custom paintball goods, get Maxed. New Coaches Show apparel is available now. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. That's www.bkipaintball.com. Be sure to use promo code CoachShow. If you're watching us on Facebook, please send stars to help support the content. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave comments. All right, real quick, I got to get this off our chest as it is our 52nd episode, not including 2 European specials, 5 field walks. Anyway, we want to say thank you for the support. We hoped people would enjoy what we do. We had no idea we would find the success that we have in the last year. It only seems appropriate that it is Thanksgiving this Thursday. So we want to take a quick moment and say thank you to every guest who has taken the time to come on the show and share their knowledge, their experience with us. But mostly, thanks to you, the viewer, the listener. We greatly appreciate you and hope to continue bringing you additional content from the coaching perspective. Last, but certainly not least, thank you to Major League Paintball and Major League Paintball Plus for believing in us, believing in this concept, and supporting us as they have. Ryan, I believe that a thankful heart is not only the greatest virtue, but the parent of all the other virtues. Charles Dickens said, it seems appropriate to quote him this time of year, reflect upon your present blessings, of which every man and woman has plenty, not on your past misfortunes, of which all men and women have some. So you and I have been blessed, my friend. My Thanksgiving is perpetual. So,
yeah, man, it's been a very exciting year. We've obviously made a lot of mistakes since we've been doing this. Gotten a little better. It's been, I'll tell you, the coolest thing is every time we go to a paintball field and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, thank you, and Mike, for what you're doing," and I watch your show all the time, or I listen to it while I'm at the gym, or whatever the case may be. I love it. And I say the same thing every time, and I'll continue to say it. We love that people watch and they like what we're doing. But I just love the fact that I get an hour and a half with my friend every week, and we can chop it up, talk about paintball. So it's been a fun year, man.
It really has. It's been great, man. This has been a tremendous amount of fun. And I've learned so much, just like everyone out there. Don't think that we haven't been learning. We sure as heck have. So, especially from our viewers, listeners, and our guests, they come in, they have such great insight. We greatly appreciate it all. And so it's been a good time.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and getting to do all the clinics we've gotten to do has been a great opportunity. Which, speaking of that, we will be doing a coaches clinic at the Combine this year for BKI. Details coming soon, so hopefully we'll have those kind of rounded out and out shortly after Thanksgiving. But Mike and I will be doing a coaches clinic and coaching a team at the Combine. So I think they're almost sold out. So this year, the Combine, I believe, is February 2nd and 3rd. Is that correct?
First and second, I think.
First and second, and that's going to be at Wastelands Paintball. So if you're interested in the Combine, you need to You need to go to paintballcombine.com, get registered right away if that's something you're planning on attending. Keep in mind, if you are U19, U16, that is how they select the rosters for Team USA. This also might be the last year we're going to do a Team USA. It sounds like there may be a break in there somewhere. I hope that the kids still get to do it. We'll see what that looks like, though, next year. But 2025 for sure is on. So if you're thinking about Team USA, you need to go get involved in the combine.
Yeah. So Wasteland, you said Wasteland Paintball, that's just north of Houston, Texas, I believe.
Just north of Houston, Texas. Better to fly into George Bush International than Houston Hobby if you're looking at tickets. So make sure you pick the right airport, because if you go to Houston Hobby, you're far. Just FYI, you're far.
Thanks for that reminder. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, you go to George Bush, you're in really good shape. So if you're interested in the combine, make sure you get involved there. One last thank you really quick to BKI, to Max Sportswear for supporting the show. Also, if you would like to support the show, if you're a paintball field owner, paintball store owner, manufacturer, whatever, we have lots of different ways that you can be involved in the show. We really appreciate your support. Mike and I do this because we love doing it, but obviously it would help. I spend a good amount of money every month on the shows. Be nice to get it back. That's all I'm saying. Be nice to get it back. So if you know somebody who you think would want to support us, or you want to support us, let me know. You can reach me at ryan@thecoachesshow.live. So let's talk about the player moves. We'll start obviously with the biggest the biggest kind of moves of the offseason. Marcelo leaves Dynasty. Tyler leaves Houston Heat. Alex Goldman leaves AC Diesel, and Rainey Stanzak leaves Tampa Bay Damage, all to join Edmonton Impact.
Yeah.
Huge move for Impact.
Massive.
Huge move, right?
It's what we would call an arms race, right? And that's, you just moved 4 tactical nukes, right, to one location. So that's pretty impressive. Do we have the report? I have some data in front of me, but do we know who will be moving away from Impact?
So Rob Velez, Matt Derula, Mike Zupa have all stepped away. Trevor Reeser has also stepped away and signs with Infamous actually right before the show. So I had to update that. So they were pretty, I think Matt Derula and Mike Zupa kind of stepped away before, kind of mentioned they were going to step away before World Cup. I'm not sure about Rob Velez and where he may end up. Trevor chose to step away, I think, once the deal kind of went through. And again, quickly picked up by Infamous. So good move for him, and great move for Infamous. They definitely needed bodies. Ran on really, I know they call themselves the Skeleton Squad. Certainly experienced that a couple times, I think, this season, running with 6 or 7 guys. Couple of other moves. Josh Taylor from the relegated NYX moves to Miami Kings. Also great move for the Kings. They're going to probably need one more body, maybe 2. We'll talk about that in just a second as we run down the list. Connor Kelly leaves Houston Heat, moves to Aftershock, and Al Fernandez steps away from Aftershock. Right. So Houston Heat, loses 2 big 1 bodies, right? Mm-hmm. I know Tyler played mostly in the 2 spot, but lose 2 great players. Right. So we'll kind of see what's going to happen with them. And then I kind of finished with the Revo news, just because we have their coach on, so he'll be able to kind of talk about these things. But Archie Barnes Jr. leaves Austin Notorious. Steve O'Mara leaves the Ironman, both joining Baltimore Revo. Devin Stewart and Frank Antetomaso are no longer with the team. So big moves.
And there's more to come.
I kind of mentioned this the week after the day after we got back from World Cup, and we did our show, I think, on Thursday that week. And I kind of mentioned, I think this is going to be the biggest offseason we've had in a long time. And it has been already.
Yeah. It's stupid now. This, and I think you mentioned this, that now that this kind of domino has fallen, right, you're going to start a lot of great players in the wind right now. So I think you are going to see some major shifts And based off this past season and the competition and the way the season played out, I can only imagine what is still to come. I mean, if it kicks off with that, goodness gracious, it's going to be ridiculous. So,
yeah, for sure. And Rob Velez is one I kind of hadn't thought about. I'm talking to another coach. In fact, I was talking to Chris Jansen. Rob's a great one, right, on the Dorito side, very impactful, but also utility, can kind of play in multiple different places. So, Rob he'll be a good pickup for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of great players available. Again, we mentioned this kind of at the beginning 2 weeks ago as the offseason was kind of unfolding. It just really does take one or two dominoes to fall, and then the rest begin to tumble. So let's look at the league really quick. We'll just kind of run through this pretty quickly. So Red Legion, really needs more depth, right? They probably need one or two, but it takes a special player to fit into that organization.
Right. It's not just needing one or two. It's not a plug and play there, right? You have to bring a very specific skill set, and you have to really buy into that system, which I think is what makes them so powerful. So they find the right piece, man. Oof. Yeah, I think
the other thing is time, right? The time commitment that Red Legion requires is a lot. So it certainly takes the right player. San Antonio X Factor, they're probably okay, right? Depending on whether or not, if Colt decides to retire, which I have not spoken to Colt, I'm just throwing that out there. If Colt decided to retire, maybe they need one.
Will Axel be coming back?
It sounds like Axel's going to be there all year next year and is going to play World Cup with them. Again, that's not confirmed by Axel. That's just what I hear. Okay. Houston Heat, kind of a question mark there, right? I skipped Impact on purpose. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine. We don't have to talk about Impact, right? Houston Heat, kind of a question mark, right? They lose two. All the vets, of course, are still there for now, but kind of a question mark. It's been quiet around the Heat camp. San Diego Dynamo. Go ahead.
I did want to make a comment about Houston Heat. Okay, so and this is just me throwing this out there for discussion. You guys can let me know what you think if I'm way off. As a coach or an owner or as a team member of Houston Heat, if I was any of those three things, Connor Kelly has now departed and Tyler Harmon has now departed. This leaves an opportunity to really focus on the existing roster, right? The remaining roster that we could, granted, there's just too much talent on that roster. And everyone talks about, yes, they were consistent, but yes, they never got the close. Okay. So you have to be asking yourself as a team owner and as a coach, what component, why were we consistent, but why couldn't we get over the hump? What were these things? And you need to be looking hard in the mirror to understand with that kind of talent, Moorhead, Fedorov, Chad George. I mean, goodness gracious, you can't throw a rock and not hit an elite player on that team. And so my thought process is this might be a great thing for Heat. This might be just the kickstart that they need in order to get things a little bit more laser focused and start executing on a higher level like we're used to seeing out of them. That's all I wanted to say. I'll shut up about that. I think this could be a good thing for Heat. And I know a lot of people are focusing on the negative with the Heat, but I think this could be a positive, good thing for Heat.
I couldn't agree more. I think that there is an opportunity for others to step up. This is one of those, you lose a player like Tyler Harmon. And the only reason I'm not really throwing Connor into this part of the discussion, simply he just did not play a ton. He played a decent amount, but he wasn't utilized frequently. Right. So, but I mean, Tyler played every point.
He did. And I'm an idiot. Everyone knows I'm not the professional here, but I do feel certain players weren't, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. I love Sarge and I love Ryan. I love everything about the Houston Heat program. Everyone knows that, Moorhead's been one of my heroes growing up. So even though I'm 20 years older than him, but anyway, I still haven't grown up. So I guess it doesn't matter, but I do feel like certain players weren't used appropriately on certain layouts or in certain conditions. And that's just me, right? It's easy for me to have that 50,000 foot view and look back and watch tape on Heat and go, yeah, I might have played someone else there, or I might've used this asset here. So
Yeah, but that's what we do, right?
Yeah, that's
We
true. I'll
just
shut
kind of,
up, though.
when we see things that we think could be done a different way. Again, we say this all the time. There's 100 ways to do it right. There's a million ways to do it wrong, right?
100%.
You and I may just have a perspective that's slightly different than, Coach Ryan Smith.
Sure.
So, but I agree. It appeared from time to time that maybe there were some guys either out of position or they were trying to play the field in a way that was different than Houston Heat's style, right?
Yes.
And I kind of felt like they went away this year a little bit from their identity, which is usually a little more ballistic, and tried to play a slightly more controlled game. And on the layouts we've had, it just doesn't work very well. It did in Chicago, like you could slow it down a little bit. It did at World Cup, you could slow it down a little bit, but you could also play at a really high tempo, right? If you had your setup correctly. I mean, we saw Paintball Fit come back with a minute 8 seconds, score 2 points to take it to overtime. If your setup is correct, you could play high tempo, right? You just had to play more of an inside out game. Now you couldn't have done that in Chicago. That middle was so treacherous. Right. If you try to put two bodies up there, they just get chewed up. Yeah. But it seemed like they kind of got away from their identity.
And he Dynasty, they have the parts to play that up tempo. So yes, we'll let that one lie, but they have all the pieces. So Dynasty. Yeah. You were about to say Dynasty. I think I already know what you're going to say there.
Dynasty obviously loses a key guy, right? In Marcelo, who's playing an incredibly difficult role in the 3. I mean, they're still Dynasty. You plug
you still got Yosh, you still got Blake. So, that's the kind of fire that now we're going to start to see what those boys can do. And I guarantee you they could do plenty. So,
and they're, again, that roster is just incredibly talented. It's just going to be somebody else stepping up. Right. But, maybe they find the right piece and they plug them right into the system and it works really well. But Dynasty doesn't need someone. They'll be fine with who they have. Paintball Fit, of course, is hopefully not going to make any changes, just coming off a World Cup, historic World Cup win. Tampa Bay Damage really does need a couple of bodies, right? We kind of witnessed that throughout the year. There were a couple of times Keith Brown went down. Now they are deep, they got Dan Holiday as a backup, but they really need to have somebody who is a specialist that can be that can rotate in and out with Keith, right? Where we don't run the wheels off of Keith early in the event. He's getting a little older now. Obviously, his body is beginning to break down some. They really need to find somebody who can help with that. Also, Jason had some injury this year. So losing Rainey, they need to probably 1, if not 2 bodies. So we'll see how that goes. Chicago Aftershock, they pick up Connor Kelly. It sounds Al Fernandez steps away. We talked about that in the open. And then, potentially 2 bodies that may change there as well. So Chicago Aftershock's going to be in a position where they probably need 2 more, right? 1 is really what they need, but probably could take 2. And then we go to AC Diesel, who loses Alex Goldman. Already had a pretty skinny roster with Mark Johnson stepping away and coaching. Don't know if he's going to continue to do that or try to find a coach in the offseason. But if Mark does stay as the coach, which I hope he does, because wow, what a great
performance.
What a great performance at the World Cup. Yeah. So if Mark does stay and leave his gun in the bag and keep the clipboard out, that puts him at 8. So 7 actually with the loss of Alex Goldman. So we'll kind of see where that ends up, right? So they could potentially need 1, right? They'll be fine if Kyle Spickett.
Yeah, I'm at 1 with Diesel. I Chicago Aftershock. I'm looking at that, and I'm not sure they need much right now. That's just my personal opinion. I think they've got the appropriate depth there. You might be privy to something I'm not aware of, but I'm looking at picking up Connor and their existing roster, and maybe some of that existing roster thins with obviously Al has gone, but I don't know. I'm not sure Aftershock's in any type of spot where they would need it. Diesel, they don't need anything. They've got what they need on all sides of the field. They've got everything they need on all sides of the field. So
they've got 7 guys who can play really high level paintball.
That's right.
So they're okay. But again, if we look at positionally, not a bad idea to get one or two more backups.
Yeah.
then
Diesel, I
again,
agree. One more.
Yeah. If Kyle Spica stays,
Mhm.
they're fine, right? They'll be okay. Which would be great if he does, because I think, losing Mouse is painful. Of course, any of those guys, you can't just plug and play another guy into that role.
Nope.
But if Kyle stays, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. But could use one, right? Infamous, we talked about this. I think I said this on the last show. Infamous probably needs 2 to 3 bodies. They pick up Trevor Reeser. Great addition to that team. He's been there before. He knows the system. I think Trevor will fit in exceptionally there. I'd love that he's at Infamous. I think it allows him a little more freedom in their style, a little more creativity. I think he'll be great there. Los Angeles Ironmen, they're probably okay, right? They lose Stephen O'Mara, but they still have a really deep roster of guys. Brooklyn Bears, kind of a question mark around the Bears right now. So I don't want to go into too much detail until we have confirmation. ASG Aftermath, they're fine. Yeah. They're fine. They don't need anybody. Seattle Uprising is fine. Don't need anybody. Yep. In fact, hopefully they don't make any changes because of the way they finished, right? They're only going to keep getting better.
Agreed.
New Orleans Hurricanes. You guys are probably in a position
need 2, but could probably take 3.
Sure.
Right. I don't know. That's just a guess. I don't know the guy who's in charge of that, but that's kind of probably what he's thinking.
Yeah, I would think so too. And then we go to Baltimore Revo, right? Who's made a couple of changes already. Picks up Cody Mikowski right before the World Cup. Makes a couple of changes kind of early with rosters. Again, adding ABJ and Stephen O'Mara are 2 huge pickups. ABJ was a very sought after commodity. If you look at Snake Eyes, they're just ones on the Snake and Dorito side aren't just laying around. They're really hard to come by. Really talented, young, really hungry guys are very tough to come by right now in the pro league. Blast Camp probably in a pretty good place. We don't really need to add anybody. Miami Kings, kind of a question mark there too, especially with the NYX stuff that's gone on. Pat Kraft is still available. CJ Cantor still available. Jerry Caro still available.
Josh Taylor just went to the Kings.
Yep. Josh Taylor just went to the Kings. But then also Thomas Taylor is also still available. So there's some pieces there that are kind of out there. Maybe the Kings acquire 1 or 2 more of those. We'll see. And then you have Austin Notorious, which again, kind of a big question mark around Notorious now with ABJ leaving. I've heard Jaron Sherman stepping away. They had 2 guys from the UK come in and play World Cup with them. I think there's only like 4 guys on the roster. Logan, Ty Bateman, Markey,
Carter, Zach Carter,
and Zach Carter. I think that's kind of the 4 guys that are on the roster right now. So Notorious needs a lot.
Core. You can build around that. That's a good core.
Absolutely. Right. Need a snake guy. Yep. Really need a snake player. But yeah, there's kind of a question mark around them right now. So we'll sort of see how it goes. But again, just looking at that list, I mean, there's 20 guys, 22 guys that are still needed in the pro league. And 7 or 8 that are kind of out there floating around and available. So, that's and I totally forgot about Patty. Patty's still out there too. So there's a lot of need and a few guys, right? So I think the semi-pro might get some picks this year. We'll see.
I agree. I was just going to comment about that. There's and of course, Leverage being the 20th team, what, if anything, will they, obviously they're going to be coming up. They're the newest pro team. Will they be making any adjustments? They've already got some, the pro experience there, right? With Caputo and Gonzalez. So there's great opportunity there. We'll see if they have any type of insight or thought on what they're going to do and adjust from that perspective. But there are some great players in the semi-pro division on those top 5 teams, actually on several of the semi-pro teams that need to be possibly considered.
So I did hear that Ivan Gonzalez has stepped away. And will not be playing with Leverage in 2025. Now, he coached at the World Cup. He didn't play. So we'll kind of see what that looks like. We're going to have their coach is going to be on next week, so we'll get to run down those things with him. So
perfect.
Yeah. So any other questions about any of that from you guys in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
they're good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Moran brothers. Absolutely. Yeah. So
yeah, not sleeping on anybody. I mean, once you get into the pro league, nobody sleeps on you. Nobody.
Not anymore. Don't.
Everybody gets respect. So
that's right. So especially when you earn your spot. Yeah. Especially when you earn your spot.
Let's bring Chris in.
He's been waiting patiently for like 20 minutes.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Jansen.
Good evening.
How are you, sir? Look at that. I knew it. Now, everyone, pay attention to what it says underneath his name. It does not say Baltimore Revo. Do we have some news we want to announce right here on the Coaches Show? Is there a rebranding of Baltimore Revo to a new name?
Absolutely.
A familiar name?
Yeah, they're bringing back the Arsenal name, and I think everyone's familiar with that, and we want to do it good. Still revising the logo a little bit. It won't be too much different, but definitely got a little bit of work to do before that's fully put out there.
Nice.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Yes. Well, I'll have to create a reel around that and share it.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So what's the idea of rebranding back to Arsenal?
Yeah.
Honestly, that was something that I think they had brewing already before I was there. So I'm really new to the situation. So I don't know exactly where that came from yet. And Tom's a busy guy, so I think he's overseas somewhere right now. So not a lot of time to chat with him since I was picked up.
So I kind of knew it already because last year they had the A team had to become.
Yep.
So I was pretty sure it was going to happen. I just didn't know when.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
when I saw the A team guys became nasty, I was like, okay, got it.
Yep.
Noted.
I love it. So, it's funny, Chris, you and I actually have a lot of history, and I'm not sure if you know this, but you and I have a lot of history. And it was funny because I actually didn't know it either. I stumbled across it and didn't realize it.
Okay.
So I kind of want to walk you through this. And I want to do this, ladies and gentlemen, just in case some of you may not be familiar with Mr. Jansen here. So Mr. Jansen, before coming to Damage, obviously, he's been the coach in the coaching staff with Damage for this past year. And we're going to get into what you did there exactly with Damage Camp. But before that, you guys might remember a team, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of my history, Chris, but Energy Elite. And then prior to Energy Elite, there was Boom. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that or remember that. And that's where you and I's history goes all the way back to Galveston 2011, where where Boom and Prime, Birmingham Prime, would bang against each other all season long. We would beat you in the prelims in Galveston, and you guys would come back and beat us in the quarters when it counted, right? And then we'd meet again at PSP Dallas, and then we'd meet again at the West Coast Open, and then we'd meet again in 2015. Where was that? Where did we meet in 2015? Oh, Cup, right? So we were just constantly full circle. You end up running into the Gulf Coast Hurricanes at World Cup in 2016. And you end up meeting Prime again in Atlantic City. So you and I have been playing and coaching against each other since 2011 in a way, in some form or fashion.
Sure.
And it's just incredible. 2020, you stopped playing, I believe, and you transitioned to the coaching role in 2020.
Yeah, I started to go into that full time for Alan Buffton and Energy Elite once we merged with them.
Excellent. So I love that. And I want to throw that out there, ladies and gentlemen. So, I like to try and find that common, kind of that Kevin Bacon type thing going on. And it's kind of funny to me, but so I've always believed, and I'm going to dive right in here. Ryan, I kind of warned Ryan, Chris, that getting you on the show, I had a lot of questions and I really wanted to have a lot of fun with this. So we're going to get into this. So there's a balance in coaching, right? There's this, there on one end, there's the merciless God who rules the player's world. And then on the other end, there's the everybody gets a trophy coach. One usually works better than the other. And if I have to tell you which one, well, anyway, I like to find the in-between so that in that rare occasion, right, you can switch to the merciless God archetype. They understand coach's patience is gone. They have 3 seconds to get with the program, etc. Where would you fall in that spectrum if you had to define your coaching style? Where would you fall on that spectrum?
I'm definitely more laid back. I'm not going to be in your face screaming at you. If I do start to yell, you really, really messed up. It doesn't even pay to argue. I'm beyond that. But otherwise, if you're playing a point, you screw up, I'll probably meet you at the entrance and, ask you what you did and make sure you know what you did and correct it if you don't and move on. I'm not going to sit there and hound the guys and so forth. And some guys, they need to be babied. So we'd be very careful with how we're talking with them then.
Excellent. So with that, now that we have an understanding, do you want to give us a brief history of your coaching? I kind of did in a way, but I want the people to hear
you pretty much hit it. So we had Boom, and that was, we started doing really well in like 2008-ish. Went through all the divisionals, pretty much winning everything we did, except for semi-pro. We never won in semi-pro, but yet we were lucky enough to acquire a spot. That's when the league expanded. And then it was just a fight, from there. There was such a difference between the top and the bottom teams. That's when you've seen the challengers divisions, all that sort of stuff. Eventually guys started having families, ready to quit paintball, whatever have you. And everybody was loyal all the way through. And then when it was time for them to move on from the paintball world, Alan came along at the perfect time. That's where we merged there. And then I actually did play there for that first year, but there was only 2 events or whatever. Or should say played the first event. And then by the end, the next year it was time to start coaching, and then rolled into, once that was done, parted ways there. No bad blood. Actually, I talk with Alan almost every day. And then the Joey thing just kind of came out of nowhere for me to join his staff. And I was super thrilled to get the opportunity to learn more from Joey Blude. I mean, he's won it all, right? With Damage, and it's important to learn his little secrets and so forth. So that was good for what he let me learn. I'm sure he didn't give me everything. So
I love it.
So what was your role at Damage?
Yeah.
So a lot of it was, practice. I would record almost every point, right? And this way guys start arguing with each other. I could pull out the phone and be like, look at right here, slow-mo, and be like, no, see, you didn't shoot him. He shot him, and then the guys stop fighting, and then keep track of stats. And then just kind of go over stuff with Joey, if he wants to bounce ideas off me or so forth. If I see something, I would give him information, and he either just said, go kick rocks, or he'd say, oh, okay. So he was really open and good about that.
So you were the statistical cooler.
Yeah, in a sense. Lots of scouting too. Lots of scouting. There was another guy that would come just to the events, Mike Sola. He's tied in with Damage from way back in the day, and he's also there doing stats as well. So him and I would each do one side. So
yeah, and you said stats at practice. What are you keeping at practice?
Yeah. So keeping track, just deaths on the break, and things of that nature, how fast people are dying if it's an early death, and in the order they're dying, as far as are we maybe taking too much risk over here once we're starting to get closer to the event and so forth, making sure that, we're not overlooking anything. Because sometimes these guys, they're like, players will lie to you. So it's nice. It's nice to be able to have those firm stats to get them to, have to confess or, fess up to, oh yeah, okay, I did do that or this. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's we talk about that a lot on the show, and certainly every time we do a coaches clinic, we talk about how important that data is at practice with your own team as you're preparing for the tournament. When you're talking about play development, what are your 2-man operations going to look like? Who are they and why? And if you can just go back and pull the data, hey, the highest win percentage was these two, and the highest off break living was these two, and these two, and these two. There's a lot of truth in the data, right? Because it doesn't lie.
100%.
Yeah, doesn't lie. We love data. Love data.
Data's good. Data's your friend.
Oh yeah.
But it's also a harsh mistress when you're trying to maintain relationships. So
Yep.
See, I think it's great when you're trying to maintain relationships because then it's not emotional, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
they
that's my data, right?
they can't fight it in a sense, you know. I mean, they can try, but then they just look silly.
Exactly.
Right.
That's my. I've actually had a player tell me, "I play better at the tournament. I play better at the tournament," and I'm like, "Okay, well." That's going to suck for you here because you got to play good at practice if you want to play. So I don't know how to react to that, but that's great, man. You'll get your opportunities. And if you play better at the tournament, you'll get more opportunities. But unfortunately that guy's going to start. You're not going to start because he was better at practice.
Yep.
So,
have either of you heard the one where like, I need a couple of warm-up points?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
At the
of
event?
course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I've had guys tell me like if they don't get to play 2 or 3 points in a row, they'd just rather not play.
Yeah, I can't get it going. You know, I need those reps in a row to make it happen. And if I don't get that, I just, you know, it's going to be bad results. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes we don't have that. We don't have that freedom, especially now. The league is so competitive.
Yes,
there are no warm-up points. Like there's no like, you know, I'll give you some space to get it going, right? Like you got to come out. Like I always tell the guys, no matter what team I've coached, I'm like, hey, when you punch the clock, like when you punch in to go to work, you go to work as soon as you punch in. You don't punch in and then take a crap and get a coffee and, you know, catch up with your desk mate. Like you punch in and you immediately begin working. There's no warm up. There's no like getting ready to do this. You've had that opportunity before you clocked in, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that data is really important. So I want to back up a little bit. You mentioned that in 2020, you played the first event and then you said, and then it was time for me to transition into coaching. So what was it that created the need, or what was the cause of your transition?
Well, I mean, I did do like when we did have Team Boom, I was coaching and playing, but to be successful, you just can't do both. And for the people that try, great, good job. But you're just lying to yourself eventually that you got to do one or the other. So, you know, the itch was always there to kind of do that. And with my work schedule and so forth, I just wasn't able to practice as much as I should have. And no sense in cheating the team at that point and, you know, lying and saying, yeah, we're still putting in all the reps. No, you know, the coaching thing was like I said, it was time for me then to step up and do that full time.
Well, so what was it that made you feel like you had the acumen for it?
There you go.
I guess just when I would see another coach struggle, right, and maybe things weren't going well, and I was like, I can do that better. I can do that. And I like winning, right? If I can't compete playing and I didn't have the time to do that, I want to win coaching then. And
you know, that may be the most honest.
Rush.
That's the most honest answer I think anybody has given on this show. Because what you just said is ego. my ego told me I should do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love
that.
It.
Is good. I was going to say that is the most honest answer we've gotten on that front. Right.
Totally.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that is not a cut in any way. That is legitimately
good.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here. So
yeah, it's good.
I love
like
that.
If you don't think you can win and you don't want, if you don't have like some ego, you're going to get run over. You're going to lose your locker room. You're going to have a lot of problems. Like you've got to have some confidence in this. Now that, of course, there's that fine line between confidence and hubris, but you've got to be confident in what you're doing. And if you don't think you can win, you're never going to win. You'll constantly fail.
How do you get guys to follow you if you're not confident?
You don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, they won't follow. So who has influenced your coaching career, you know, over your time, whether it's as a player or as you've been a coach? Like who's influenced kind of the way you coach the style in which you talk to the players, like who's influenced you?
I know this is going to sound a little crazy, right? But Mike Bruno, I played for him
Not crazy at all.
with Chicago Aftershock. And the reason I say it's crazy, it's not because it's Mike, right? Mike is just a full-fledged attack. He didn't care.
Totally.
It didn't matter if it should have been the slowest field in the world. We're going to still run at you, every single point and never stop attacking. And what that did for me as a player, right, it showed me that side, because normally I was a really slow player. And then when I coached, right, it kind of showed, I'd always reflect back to like, what would Bruno do in this situation? And just that element of, misdirection and so forth, he just opened my eyes so much to that. And it just made everything so much more easy for me to see it. So probably Mike Bruno. And I wasn't with him for very long, but he's another guy that I talk to on the regular yet. So
Yeah, when you said Mike Bruno, I immediately thought, well, okay, so on that spectrum I asked you about earlier, obviously you were on this far end of the merciless God, and it doesn't seem that way, but you certainly understand the premise behind it, right? And wielding that type of force, right? In an intelligent manner and using it when it's necessary, right?
Yep.
So I appreciate that a lot. So making a note.
Well, I could give you Mike Bruno stories for days, but then he's going to blow up my phone and I'm going to get yelled at tomorrow. So I'll share one good one quick. So we're playing for Aftershock. It's my first year as a pro. That's when I stepped away from Boom, but was still running it and coaching it for a year. And the Russians are just beating us down, like bad. It was bad. We were going to get mercied or whatever the case was, right? And our pod runner or one of our staff guys comes running over to Bruno, and they're like, Bruno, they're eating freeze pops in the pit. And he's like right now during our match? And he's like, yeah. And Bruno looks at him real serious and goes, can you go get me one? And we're standing there like waiting to like hear what we need to do next, but it didn't matter. We were going to lose every point anyway, but yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah. So when you say freeze sticks, you meant popsicles.
Yeah.
There you go, Ben. I caught it. You got to use your, come on now.
Yeah.
You can do this.
These Midwest guys, they talk a little weird.
We do.
Know.
Yeah.
So,
they go down the road, get a pop.
Yep.
That's right. So, a soda.
So,
pop.
Yeah, let's kind of dive into the current, right? So,
yes.
and I know some of this is going to be thrown at you, and you may not be ready for some of this. And feel free to just say what you believe, and then we can kind of talk through it if you want. Mike and I'm sure, we watch a lot of the games. I watch all of them. I'm sure Mike does too as it goes on. My day is different. It's very organic. Like some days I have 3 hours of work to do. And I watch a lot of paintball. So thinking about coming into Baltimore Revo, what is the offseason going to look like? So once you guys have your roster kind of finalized, which I assume will happen in the next 3 weeks, more than likely, maybe even
Absolutely.
2. What is that kind of like? What does it look like? When do you start having meetings? When's your first practice? And once you get to that first practice, what is your number one priority?
So our goal already is to try to get a practice in January, if not 2, pending everyone's schedules. Of course, not everything's solidified where we know, we're still looking for a player yet. So if we get that locked in, and then we can try to start moving forward there. But getting to practice, it's, it goes in hand with the total rebranding of the name, right? We're rebooting the team. And last year they finished 16th overall, which is unacceptable, right? They started off well, but the way they finished was terrible. And with a team of this caliber and what we're going to have for next year to work with, we cannot finish, or I should say start the way they finished. We need to start strong right out of the gate. I think we're going to be a tier 4 team to start with, which whatever, tier is a tier, doesn't matter. You still got to beat everyone anyway. but there are those advantages to being those upper tiers. And as far as the practice, I'll hit them right away with the way we're going to warm up and so forth for these events, the way, or I should say my expectations out of them. One of my big pet peeves is cheating. Like, it just beyond drives me crazy. You want to ride the pine, start cheating. That'll get you there faster than anything with me. That's just selfish paintball.
Yeah. So I like how when he asked that question, the first thing you started talking about was goal setting, right? Goal setting has been the key to growth for any team. I believe that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. So with each small victory, the larger victories get closer in reach. So anyway, I'll get off my own philosophy and ask you about yours, which is, so that goal setting you've talked about, hey, all right, first goal, we want to have at least 2 practices in January. Another goal is, hey, we have to come out of the gate hot. We cannot be a 4th tier team. So I assume one of the goals is to increase our tiers as we go forward. We're going to be a Sunday team, obviously. And we're setting that
at
goal,
a minimum,
that expectation at a minimum. So along that same time frame, I mean, how familiar are you with the Revo program, and what do you think? What are some of the things that you're going to bring to the practices to drive them in that direction?
So several of the players I've either played with or against or had coached them already. Elliot Weaver was with me almost forever. Cody Mikowski, also from Wisconsin, right? I talk with him probably 5 times a day. And just having those 2 guys there, right, have been with me my whole paintball career. And then Caleb, I played with him on Aftershock. I coached him on Energy. Kyle Bowen, I coached on Energy. And then Stephen O'Mara, I played against for a long, long time. And Benny, Sean, and the only one I never played against was ABJ. So, I mean, we have a really good, solid group of guys there. And I think the important thing is to show them that I have that ability to lead them, right? And we just, my expectations are so high with this.
Okay. Yeah. Coaching's about, and again, here I go, I'm getting to my own philosophy. Coaching's about simplicity, right? And getting your players to play better than they think that they can. And I think something that you mentioned was that Elliot Weaver, Cody Mikowski, it sounds like you're going to have help, right? And that's so important.
Absolutely.
You've already got that familiarity with some of these people and these guys who understand you and you understand them. Man, you kind of create that cabal, right? Which helps, I'm not going to call it trickle down, but it definitely expands, right? That sphere of influence, and you can get a lot more done. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that we'll be crawling right away. Sometimes you got to crawl before you can walk. I expect that we'll be jogging right out of the bat, right out of the gate.
And that's kind of why I really wanted to talk about the off season, because really, in your process, because Baltimore Revo was a team in the first 3 events that we were really talking about could have a potential to break into the top 4 if they continue to progress. And really had your best performance on the Texas layout, which that was, we played you guys. You guys were really good. And I have watched all the games and statted all but a few. One of the things that I noticed that was a big difference between Baltimore Revo early and Baltimore Revo late was the number of guys you guys shot off the break. Like early in the year, your consistency off the break was really good. In fact, I think after the first 3 events, you guys were like +7. And then the last 2 events, I think you were -8. So +7 in 3 and -8 in 2, right? Which starting down bodies, especially on those last 2 layouts, was really, really difficult.
That was bad.
Really difficult.
Yep.
Yeah, really tough, right? Unless it was like a middle guy, you were fine. But if you lost an edge guy, it was difficult, right? It was really, really challenging. So, if it were me, like one of the first things I'm focusing on, other than the cultural things that you mentioned in your discussion, because I think those are critical for a new coach to come in and set the expectation right away. Give them your goals, make sure they understand here's the building blocks and here's how we're going to get there. But one of the things I noticed really quickly, again, was that it seems like they had some challenges off the break, right?
Yep.
And so you might, want to put some drills and things in really early, even maybe in your first Zoom call. It's like, hey, this has got to be a key factor. We've got to get guns up off the break. We've got to get kills off the break, which means either you got to have guys stationary, right? They've either got to be a back center guy or somebody in a bunker really close, or they need to really get better with their guns in space, right?
Right. We got to learn the dance.
Yeah, either we're floating or, between the bunkers, we're understanding where we need to pull that gun up if we're on the run, or be shooting the gun until we have to put it down and break. But a couple other things I noticed is they got a few more penalties later in the year also.
Oh, yeah, they definitely did, yeah.
Yeah, again, and I don't have the data in front of me. I apologize, but I think it was like +3. So they had 3 more penalties in the last 2 events than they had in the first 3 events. So that's also not a great stat, right? That's not a good thing. So some discipline problems, which I talked to Mike Jeffries a little bit at World Cup. If you've lost, once a coach or a leader kind of loses the locker room, and these are his words, right? Lost the locker room. Once that happens, players do have a tendency to get selfish. Right? They think they need to carry more of the burden. They have to do more, right? When that's not the reality. Just do your job and you'll be fine, right? Don't try to do more. But do you have an idea already of some drills, some things? And again, I don't know what you've done because I know it's only been a few days that you've had the job. Have you had an opportunity to go back and stat all their matches and put together kind of a game plan?
So I wasn't able to stat all of their matches yet, but I was able to dig through some of the stuff that I had from when I scouted them for damage.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of that info. Yeah. So I have a lot of that handy. And a lot of that I can see better because I was taping every single point, right? Where the camera angle or whatever they show you through the webcast doesn't always give you every aspect of it. But yeah, like you said, the cheating definitely was on the rise and not shooting as many guys on the break. Some of that was, in my opinion, right, just not having the right bodies in the right positions. And that was then throwing off the whole vibe and everything. And if players are feeling that and so forth, well, then it's just going to trickle down and it's going to be a big problem.
It's a great point.
It is a great point. So
I think that was the number one issue, was bodies in the wrong position. It started off, like you said, the year started off really well. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know when it turned, as far as like certain player in that position just stopped performing, or if there was attitude problems, or I have no idea. Right. But those things won't be happening here.
Yeah. Because really, if you look, 9th place, 7th place, 10th place, but then 18th,
respectable.
and 19th.
And then just bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right. Oh, I was just thinking out loud, and I found that a fascinating statement, because you were like, yeah, I think certain people out of position, etc. And, I was on the coaches show. I always picked for the first 3 events. I did pick Revo, and I was right every time. And that's not me saying, oh, look at me. The talent. I felt like this roster was looked over a lot. And when you look at the tool set that you have as a coach with this roster now, right? Caleb Abel, right? Benny Carroll, Cody Mikowski, Elliot Weaver. Is Saucedo still there? Is Saucedo there? You got ABJ. You got, so, you've got depth, you've got capability. What I like about it is you've got paintball players, not necessarily specialists. Obviously ABJ and certain people that I've mentioned earlier are a little bit more specialized, but you've got paintball players. And I think that lends itself to, especially to the way a lot of these layouts have been coming out and playing. I think you're gonna have great opportunity to leverage these assets in new and exciting ways. Right. And I get a feeling that it's not completely done with Arsenal yet. I think there might be some, and this is just me speculating while I've got you in front of you, right? Because I'm I'm that honest type of guy where I'm just going to tell you out in front that I feel like, Arsenal very well may be having some more players. The rest of the staff, do you have people that you want to bring on? Because a lot of times coaches will sit there and look at things like you said, hey, I think people have been playing out of position. We need to look at this penalty perspective. We need to look at our laning perspective. Are there certain pieces that you feel that Revo needs? Are there certain things you'd like to see? Are there players you want to pursue? You don't have to give me names. That's not what I'm looking for. But is there something you want to bring from a bench perspective or a depth chart perspective, something you think the team is missing? Or has in spades, right?
Yep. Now, Tom Ford himself is involved with the coaching and so forth. And he has some good say with that. And he does have a good perspective and awareness of everything. He's not just a blind owner and, I don't know what's going on. Tom definitely is well aware of what's going on and so forth. And he likes to be involved. And I look forward to working with him when it comes to the coaching. Clint Moore is a guy that may come back as a staff, an assistant coach type. That those details are still being worked on. I don't know for sure if they'll happen or not, but I would be very happy to have him involved in the team. And then as far as asking, are we done yet? We're not done yet. We absolutely would like a stud D-side attacker, a true one. We're not looking for 2s and 3s. We got an abundance of those, and we got some good ones. And we definitely have some ones as well, that can be used on that D side and so forth. But I know that we are looking for and are actively shopping for one, and we're ready to put our money where our mouth is.
Well, I'm 52, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, Clint's younger than me. So
yeah.
Yeah, Clint is he's a big brain. I still think Clint's a great player.
He is. Absolutely.
But yeah, Clint's a big brain. He'd be great for anybody to have in any capacity. I think Clint would be really, really good. So you mentioned a couple too, like you do have some unique guys like Mike mentioned ABJ. ABJ can play on both sides. Like that dude, yes, he can play on the Dorito side. He didn't get that many opportunities really ever with Notorious. He kind of started getting some here and there. They've sent Michael Johnson into the Snake, and he sometimes would go Dorito way. He's good on the Dorito side too. Like that kid can play both. In fact, when I had him on Notorious in our semi-pro year, I played him in the middle a few times. I mean, he's such a little rocket. You could send him to the other team side of the field, and he shot 2 guys before they even know he's there. He's so small and so fast. I do want to add one thing about ABJ too, because I know you haven't worked with him. Not only are you getting a really good player, more importantly, you're getting a great man. He is a great man. Great attitude, wonderful teammate, like loving father, really takes care of his body, very disciplined. Like he's the guy when you go to dinner after and everybody's eating really shitty food because they just want all the calories, he's still going to eat salmon, salad. Like he's an incredibly disciplined man. So you're getting, he was one of my absolute favorite players to coach because you could tell him things 1 or 2 times and he's got it.
I'm really excited to work with him.
And he's still raw.
Yeah. He could truly be the next huge superstar Snake player, become the greatest in the world if he wants to. And I look forward to helping him do that and so forth. And these other guys, like we mentioned, Saucedo, Benny Carroll, Kyle, Caleb, they're all 1s and 2s and so forth. And those guys can be used either side as well, or the middle. And so if we don't get another guy, I'm still thrilled with this roster. This is a solid roster. And we can make things happen with this. I made
Sean
things happen with way worse.
Sean grew up with me on Texas Storm playing in the Snake. Like he was my Snake guy and he was good. So Yeah, you've got a lot of very versatile guys. A lot of versatile guys.
And all good guys too, just like you mentioned about ABJ. I think we got all guys that want to be there together and they want to win. There's no selfish I type people, right? And I don't favor those type of people anyway. So I'm looking forward to this.
This guy wants to play one-on-one with you.
Yeah.
Dallas
Hinkhouse is calling you out.
All right. I haven't shot a gun in a couple of years.
You're in those crosshairs now.
Yeah, Chris, I don't think Chavez is going anywhere.
I love it.
Yeah, no.
He's not going anywhere. No.
Yeah.
That would
they
be
just won the
great,
World Cup
but-
for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. I appreciate the throwing his name out there because he is a fantastic Dorito player.
Yep.
Actually, he's really good everywhere, but yeah, he's not going anywhere. How do I join a team? Serious question.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. Coach, we'll let you take that one.
Go to your local paintball field and put in the work and ask around.
Yep. Start grinding. I mean, I can remember way back in the day, I seen speedball for the first time, and I seen that and I was like, whoa, what is this? This isn't running around in the woods type thing. I'm like, this is cool. And the next weekend I showed up and started playing, and within, I think, a month, somebody's like, hey, you want to play this tournament? I showed up in sweatshirt and jeans. I had no clue what I was really getting into, and I was just, I mean, you got to put in the time. It doesn't just happen overnight. It took a long time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Noel says Stephen O'Mara is one. Yeah, no. Noel says Stephen O'Mara is one of the most underrated players in the league. I don't know who the hell is underrating him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they say
I don't know
about
anybody underrating that guy.
They say that about Brian
amazing.
Smith too, and I was like, both those dudes are beyond good.
Did you say Brian Smith? Yeah. People underrate him.
They call him as one of the most
him?
Underrated. I know, but they say it. They say it for real.
I'm with.
And it's
his
like
nickname
this
is Agent Smith.
Agent Smith. Yeah.
Right. Like nobody's. Again, when I hear people say things like they're being underrated, I'm like, by who? By D5 guys that don't know the league? Anybody who's in the league, they do not underestimate either one. Neither one of those guys, in my opinion, are underrated. They're
both superstars.
Everybody is scared, not scared, but very respectful of both of them. Everybody is very respectful of both of them because they know they're both really, really good.
Yeah. I think every team has, those groups of guys, or that 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 guys in Impact's case, 20 guys that are highly respected. And now he does seem to be clarifying. He says, no matter how good you think he is, he's still underrated. I think I see what you're trying to say. No, but that's interesting. He is. He's a solid player. He's a great pickup for you guys, and he's certainly going to help with the X's and O's too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Really smart.
It's something a lot of people don't know about Steven. Is Steven? He's got a lot of fear. So,
and while Noel is here, congratulations on your finals appearance at the World Cup. Great job, Coach.
Absolutely, congratulations, Mr. Tran. So let's get into the difficult questions and I'm going to steal one of the questions that Ryan always asks, because I love when he asks these questions. I'm going to steal it tonight, Ryan, because
do it.
I'm wanting to get to this. So it's an expectation thing, Chris. Where do you see, now you've already touched on it, but where do you see your group finishing in 2025? Where do you see it finishing? You're managing the expectations? What's the goal?
Right. That's a great question. I'm not going to lie to you. I believe we're top 8 every event. I know that Ryan mentioned, hey, it's always tough the first one to get rolling. I think with this group of guys, the amount of info they can give me when they come off the field, if it's they got shot or we just won the point, regardless, right? I can trust what they're saying to me. If we get Clint and we have Tom there as well, I think we're going to have such a force here that don't be surprised if we're in that top 4, 3 or 4 of the events. I'm fully expecting us to be a top 4 team by the end of the year. finishing overall
Excellent.
compared to overall
No,
16.
as long as there's no selfishness there, right? If those guys come in, they give the data, there's no selfishness. It's all about the team, right?
Yep.
And right with you and Tom and Clint and whatever additional staff you're going to have in that roster. Yeah, I think there's some high IQ, paintball IQ there that could certainly lend to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And so much of what you just said about expectation just revolves around, really understanding the purpose, the process, and then the discipline and the hard work. And that's, how you get to the performance end. And because your guys are really high IQ, it shouldn't be a hard sales pitch to get them to work hard.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be a hard
absolutely.
sales pitch, right? But for your group too, and I think I mentioned this, I don't remember if it was on our last show or the show before, like you guys are at the point, especially with the number of vets you have, that it's less about the quantity of spins that they get and more about the quality of the discussion in between the points, the breakdowns, the tearing each one of the pieces apart to get to its rawest form of why it was successful or not successful, right? Like I watch a lot of the teams, and even some of the decent pro teams, and not the good ones. The good ones all do this, and you just came from an organization that does this really well. Even if you win that point, you still need to break it down. You still need to tear it apart and find out where could it have gone better. Where were the mistakes made? How do we fine tune it? What are the changes that need to be altered in the play call to create the right amount of success, right? And you've got such a cognitive group that shouldn't be a challenging sell, right?
Absolutely.
All right, be a top 4 by the end of the year, top 8 at every event.
And with you
eight.
saying that, Joey Blute, which once again, thank you and shout out to him for everything he did for me. He would, even if we won every match, right, at Chicago, after every single match, he would, we're not going to use any swear words, right? But he would, be hard on the guys. And even after we won Chicago, he was like, that was ugly, even though we won and it was fine and it wasn't really that close, but he was, we did not play good paintball, blah, 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 blah. But, we played just good enough and everyone played bad enough that we were able to get the job done. And you're kind of sitting there taking that all in going, well, this is a way different look than I'm used to. When you win every match and you didn't lose a single one, you're thinking, well, it's not that bad. I personally had thought we practiced really poorly coming into it and that the guys were looking not their greatest, but it ended up working out really well. And yeah, it was crazy to have him be so, call it negative, right? But in a good way. He wasn't trying, just like you said, he was trying to push the guys to make them want more and more and more out of themselves, out of the team. And, that's another thing that I'll take away from him, to push these guys the same way.
We broke that match down with Joey.
That just shows a passion, right? Yes.
Yeah. We broke that match down with Joey, and there actually were a lot of mistakes.
There were
a lot of mistakes, right? Like we were kind of going through it and we're like, oh yeah, there's one and there's one and there's one. And so, I mean, Joey has the reason that group and really every group he's really been with has been successful is because he is, it's not just about his expectation, but it's holding everyone accountable to play as perfect as they can. Right.
It's honesty.
And he's very, again, the delivery, and this is my problem too. Sometimes the information's usually good. The delivery sometimes needs work.
Sure.
Yeah. The delivery sometimes and the timing sometimes of the delivery also not great sometimes. Right. Like it's okay to give guys like a moment to be grateful and thankful for winning before you destroy them with all the negatives.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm guilty of
But
that.
I think we all agree that I think we all agree that Joey's approach works perfect in the damage camp. It absolutely works perfect in the damage camp.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the performance he's he's gotten out of that camp. And yes, Joey and I are friends, and I love his honesty. I love what you see with Joey is what you get. There's no BS there. That's his genuine feeling that's his genuine emotion. That is genuine thought take on everything. There's no filter. And he was absolutely correct to say, hey, we can play better. I know what this team is capable of. And we're lucky that, they made more mistakes than us. And I love that honesty about it. The way he holds them accountable and the way he gets them to look in the mirror, because that's what it takes. And when you get that roster looking in the mirror, whew, I mean, you've seen it, Chris. You've been a part of it for the past year. It's an incredible thing to watch and watch that reaction and that response. And it's impressive. So I'll shut up.
And if you go back and watch the Uprising match, Tampa Bay should have lost that match.
Oh yeah.
100%.
We were almost given a gift there. So
totally right. So Joey was right on the money, right? What he said is exactly right. If a couple of mistakes weren't made by Uprising, you're out in the first game, right? It didn't happen that way. Of course, you guys won the tournament, but he's foreshadowing that, hey, if we play like this again in the next one, we're going to have real problems, right? And he's right on. He's right on.
Right.
I want to address this question really quick, just because I think it's funny. Dallas. So paintball players, for the most part, are dorks that couldn't play traditional sports. That's why they were driven.
Yeah.
I'm being totally honest about this. There are some paintball guys who played other sports. Usually it's like soccer, lacrosse, I've heard. But that's kind of it. For the most part, if they're playing paintball, they really weren't really good at another sport, right? So, but they're still really competitive. I was kind of that way. I grew up playing, I tried football, tried baseball, played soccer here and there, but really wasn't very good at any of those things. I ended up playing volleyball and paintball, which are two for men. Volleyball is a pretty fringe sport. I did get to go play for the junior Olympic team, but still, most high-level paintball guys play paintball because they couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, they weren't good at the other sports. Yep.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately.
But that's why it was so incredible when I would have a legitimate athlete come to my field, like a football player, a soccer player, a lacrosse. When they would come to my field, I'd be like, oh, I'll teach you how to play paintball. I'll teach you how to play paintball, right? Because when you get that legitimate athlete like that, and now you're seeing it in the pro level a whole lot more. Like ABJ is a great example of it. He was a tremendous athlete, is a tremendous athlete, and he takes it very seriously because he understands what it takes in order to keep that competitive edge. That's the difference, right? That's legitimately the difference in this professional league is the amount of work each team's putting in. They all have the snapshot. They all got the long ball, but it's a perishable skill set. So who's put in the work to maintain it and keep it and take it to the next level? That's going to determine who's going to win these events. I'll shut up now. Okay.
Paintball Fit just showed us. The Russians, Red Legion and Paintball Fit have kind of shown us this year. It really is about consistency, getting out to the field as much as you can, keeping the sword sharp, playing high-level paintball as much as possible so that your shot is always good. Those teams just all year, if you look, the teams that played kind of the most paintball kind of won tournaments, right? So Dynasty wins the first event. I don't know how much they played in the off season, but they're in California, so they can play a decent amount. And then Tampa Bay Damage, but then the other
for the record, we got second at that event, and we practiced a bunch. We practiced a bunch heading into Vegas.
That's right. Second, and then you have, the other three tournaments won by teams that play a ton of paintball, a ton. So you play a lot, right? Tennis players are good at paintball, I hear. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I haven't.
Well, Chris, is there anything you want to leave us with? I haven't
heard that Omar is underrated.
Yeah, same. Anything you want to leave us with, or anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I think we covered just about everything. In regards to practicing all the time, yeah, that's why we want to hit the ground running and get those early practices in. Cody Mikowski just got done building an indoor reball center. Now it's just drills and so forth, but I can guarantee you that guy's going to be playing 3 to 5 times a week now. It's happening. He's going to be a scary monster when he comes back and is playing that much. And the same goes for all these guys. I know all these guys are willing to put in work, and I guarantee you some of these other teams, and I'm going to take my shot at them right now. They're going to go out there, right? They're going to play on their mandatory weekends, but they're not going to put in any time on the off weekends. And, our guys are going to be putting in time on the off weekends, and that's going to pay off.
Yeah, it's a great point. I do want to ask you one question.
Good stuff.
Just because we normally don't love doing these just interview style shows. Because again, we want the content to be driven to provide resources and tools for coaches.
Sure.
Give me your 2 favorite drills to do at practice.
Well, one of my favorites is, just the laning, right? That's one of my biggest things off the box, getting that gun up quick, making sure you're shooting that gun at the right height and so forth. And I think that's one of my strongest abilities, right, with the team is laning. So I always like to make that one happen. And then we're going to incorporate a lot more one-on-one stuff, because so many of these things come down to a one-on-one. It just happens so much nowadays in the pro division. And really every single time you're on the field, it doesn't even matter. There's 5 guys, you're gunfighting one guy, right? It's a one-on-one type situation happening. So we got to make sure that we are able to hold up our end when it comes to that.
All right. Give me some specific drills though.
Oh, no. We're not going to give away all the secrets. No.
So do you think that you have some sort of drill that is super top secret that nobody in paper?
No, not really. I mean,
and just so you know, on this show, we give it all away because they still have to go implement it. So if you give somebody a really good drill, you still got to go do it.
Oh, Ryan, you're going to be so much fun next season.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, as far as like I said, the laning's so important, and that's big, and it's just the repetitions. It's not even necessarily always about a certain drill or so forth. It's getting that field time in together, and really I expect the guys to be working on these drills on our non get together weekends. If we're worried about constantly doing these tiny little drills at our big team practices, we're losing valuable time. So
totally.
Right.
Totally.
They can shoot all the posts they want when I'm not around.
Christian, yeah. That was before I started doing this show, Christian.
Don't get bullied, Chris. The audience is awesome.
Christian, invite me down to a practice. I'll give you a ton of.
You guys
drills.
are great. That's right.
Dork.
That's right.
All right.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. Well, Chris, man, thank you so much for your time this evening. Congratulations on the new role with Baltimore Arsenal. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, on the Coaches Show. Really looking forward to seeing what Baltimore Arsenal brings next season. Big shoes to fill. Big goals, big expectations.
Big goals.
And we're pulling for you, man. Yeah.
Thank you. And best of luck to you gentlemen as well. Ryan, I don't know, maybe we'll see you somewhere, right? I'm sure.
I'll be at all the events, right? I did get an interesting.
He's gonna mic you up, dude.
I got an interesting message today that may pull me back in, but we'll see.
Ooh, that's spicy. There we go. That'll be fun.
Yeah. I don't know, because again, I'm pretty stuck, pretty set on needing a year off. I think it's important to decompress. You know what I mean? And I've gone pretty hard for 4 years. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to take the year off, but I'll be at the events no matter what. So the plan is, I have a series of things I'm going to do with BKI and with the show, and it's going to include I want to come to a team meeting. Film the meeting. I'll put a couple mics in the table, film the meeting, get a couple of concepts that a team is wanting to implement during a match the next day. mic the coach up during that match, listen to some of the conversations going on between the coach and the player, see where the things that were discussed in the meeting were implemented into the game plan, and then do a quick debrief after the match and kind of bring up, hey, here's the things you guys talked about in your meeting. Here's where you guys implemented them into the game plan. And then if they weren't successful, what are the things you're going to do next time to make them more sticky? Or what are the things you're going to change in the discussion process to make sure that everybody understands the goal? Or if they worked, what made it work? Like, where do you think it happened in the meeting that the guys all understood? You know what I mean? Because I think the behind the scenes stuff that we do, we all know this, but most people I think that are involved in the sport don't. Only about 10% of the work that actually happens is the 15 minutes on the field. The other 90% occurs at practice, the team meetings, the preparation, all of that is the real work. The 90% is just the product. That's the end goal, right? That's the performance part. All the other stuff is 90%. So I want to add some more content around what that looks like, right? How to run a meaningful meeting. I think there's a lot of confusion in that. I've been in some professional rooms that weren't very good. Yes. So I think there's some confusion about that, but I really want to do that kind of thing. So that's kind of my plan for next year. So I'll be at all the events. I just won't be in the same capacity. I'll have my wife with me and we'll get to go have dinners instead of, the things I've had to do in the past. So that'll be cool.
I'm so jealous.
Hey, thanks, Noel. I appreciate it. And glad you're here, man. You're a great coach too. We should get you on at some point.
We should get you on the show. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that one too. 3-on-2 and 3-on-3, random bunkers, pot and a hopper, mandatory every practice. I agree, man. You pull the whole middle of the game out when you do that, and they have to start talking right away about how they're going to close, where the weak side is. Yeah, agree. Love it. Yeah, Noel, we'll definitely have to get you on, pal. Shoot me a message so I can get your contact information. Shoot me a message on Instagram. With his mic and play the guitar for us.
I'll tell you what, maybe in the next intro for next episode, Travis. So hang in there.
Glad you brought that up. If somebody who's a cinematographer out there wants to make us a new intro video, we'd love to have one. I know this one's only a year old, but we'd love to have a new intro. Nonetheless, Chris, thank you for taking the time tonight, man. We really appreciate it. Know you're a busy guy with family. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great to do this, and hopefully I can get back on here again with you guys.
Yeah, man, do well. And I'm just kidding. Even if you don't do all that great, we'll want to have you back on because we want to talk about why things, like one of the things
you
about
can beat
the
me
show.
up.
No, there's no ego, right? Like and I kind of mentioned this when you and I were talking when we were doing your test, like the coaching network of guys like are very supportive. It's a really supportive, really good community that you do want to be a part of, just simply because when shit's not going well, it's nice to pick up the phone and call that person that knows exactly what you're going through. They know all the feelings, they know all the angst and anxiety and all the, and I'm talking about even after a shitty practice. Like sometimes it's easy to just pick up the phone. Yeah. I'll call Mike or I'll call SK or I'll, call Joey, call somebody and just say, hey, holy shit, we just had a terrible practice. Let me tell you what happened. And of course they laugh and then they tell you it's going to be fine. And here's what their experience is. And it just makes you feel better right away. So anyway.
And I'd like to have you back on the show because I want to know the answer to this. Did you talk about your secret ice cream strategy? And that's what the people really want to hear.
Yeah,
don't blow it now. We need to save it. We need to save it.
I was going to say that's my secret weapon. We can't be talking about that right now.
No.
All right. Don't
give away the secret sauce. Not yet. All right.
I like the coach
show.
Intro.
You guys are killing me.
We really like the intro too. It's just we feel like there's a lot going on. It's an expert on ice cream. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much again. Appreciate it. We will have you back on for sure. In fact, let's try to get you back on right before the first event so we can kind of talk about how the off season has gone. And then, we can talk about expectations again. right? Because you may that needle may move.
Yep,
absolutely.
After a few practices, right? You may realize like, holy shit, my group's really, really good. Maybe we're going to be top 4 in the first few events. I know it's always hard to tell because of the shakeups. You never know where other teams are going to land. And
how are they going to mesh and so forth. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you again, gentlemen.
All right, buddy.
All right. Take care, Chris. Be safe. All right, man.
Oh, that was cool.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm looking forward, and I'm really excited about bringing the Arsenal name back. And no one caught the JC Whittington comment.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people that don't even know who JC is in the chat right now. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. Anyway, I'll shut up. All right. You want to take us home, brother?
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you for watching this episode of the Coaches Show. Thank you to Chris Jansen for joining us tonight. To Major League Paintball for the support of the show, Darren Cessna, Alex Sorensen, Kevin Fillers, and Tom Cole. If you want to improve your game, possibly play for Team USA, get the best knowledge in paintball at bkipaintball.com. Also, check out the Combine Summer Camp. Again, we are doing a coaches clinic at the Combine this year, and we'll take you out and show you what you need to be looking at as you're trying to recruit players and what kind of things you need to be looking for in the drills. We'll show you a lot of stuff. So it's going to be a ton of fun. If you're looking for new gear for 2025, check out all that Max has to offer. Get true custom work for all your soft goods, including jerseys, pants, tech tees, hats, etc. I've also heard potential packs and padding. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, contact Charles at Max. He's fantastic. If you play in the USXBL, if you play WCPPL, if you play MSXL, all those local regional things, he has deals with all of them, and he pays for a portion of your paint if you podium. So check it out. maxsportswear.com. Next week, we hope to have head coach of Leverage talk about them coming into the league.
Newest pro team.
Yeah, man. And good luck to Baltimore Arsenal in the 2025 season. And to all of you, have a safe, grateful Thanksgiving. We'll see you guys next week with Mike Bianca. I'm Ryan Gray. Be responsible.